Hi, I'm Joanne deVries, founder and CEO of the Fresh Outlook Foundation.
Hello, I'm Andrew Barton, an independent researcher and photographer.
At the Fresh Outlook Foundation, we think and talk a lot about sustainability. In fact, the Foundation's passion is building sustainable communities through conversations that inspire positive change. To that end, we'd like to share with you some of what we've learned over the years, hoping you'll be inspired to make better choices for yourself, your family, and your community.
We'll do this by posing 3 important questions that will help you understand sustainability, your role in it, and how you can ultimately benefit. First, what is sustainability? Second, whose business is it? And third, what's in it for me?
So what is sustainability? I can guarantee that if I asked a number of people what it means, I'd get that many different answers. And that's one of the reasons why it's so difficult to achieve, because it means different things to different people in different places at different times.
That's so true, Jo. And given the importance of sustainability to our community's future, it's critical that we all share a common understanding upon which we can build a strong foundation for sound decisions and actions.
So let's start at the beginning. The concept of community sustainability, at least in the Western world, emerged in the 1980s when people started to see that we can't keep growing communities and their economies at the expense of the environment that supports them.
The concept was formalized and gained global momentum in 1987 at the Brundtland Commission, during which a definition was agreed upon by participating countries. The Commission agreed that sustainable development meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs.
So more simply, sustainability is our gift to future generations.
But how do we break that concept down into understandable, practical, and measurable actions at the community level?
Well, to find out, experts of the day first considered human life on Earth and then put each of our needs into one of 3 categories. They argued that for human life to be sustainable, we must respect and protect the planet and its people while enabling and encouraging strong economies. In summary, a community is sustainable if it attains and sustains social, environmental, and economic health indefinitely.
But we're visual creatures, so these ideas would have been a harder sell if people hadn't been able to visualize them. So the experts developed a number of models that help to illustrate these concepts. The nested hierarchy model shown here indicates a strong economy encompassed within a vibrant society, which in turn is nested within a healthy environment. While this model is now considered too simplistic, it does have one very important takeaway message: that the limits of growth are set by the environment. Simply, we cannot grow beyond the Earth's capacity to provide natural resources and to absorb our pollutants and waste. This next model shows a stool with 3 legs, one each for the planet, its people, and their prosperity. The stool stands strong because the legs are all the same length. Jo, what do you think happens if you cut one of the legs short?
It becomes unstable and unable to optimize human experience. This 3-legged stool model is also outdated, but it too has an important takeaway: that all social, environmental, and economic interests must be considered equally and concurrently during decision-making to ensure community balance. This is probably the best known of the early models. It shows social, environmental, and economic interests and objectives overlapping to form a sweet spot where sustainability naturally occurs. What's great about this is that the more the circles overlap, the greater the potential for community sustainability. The takeaway here is that all activities must be integrated to optimize and accelerate community sustainability.
As sustainability theory evolved, experts realized that the cultural component of human life wasn't fairly represented in the early models. So they proposed the 4 pillars approach, which is the one now being embraced by many organizations and communities.
At the Fresh Outlook Foundation, we use our own version of the community capital model, which reflects the important aspects of the earlier frameworks while incorporating more recent thinking about the 6 different types of capital that communities have to invest in their futures. Let's briefly look at each type of community capital. Natural capital is any stock of natural assets that yield a flow of valuable goods and services into the future. A fish stock that's managed well, for example, can provide a sustainable harvest year after year. The fish stock is natural capital, while the harvest is natural income. In a nutshell, we must live on our natural income rather than deplete our natural capital.
Physical capital is any stock of manufactured resources and infrastructure that are used to produce a flow of future income. These include roads, buildings, water and sewer systems, etc. It's important to note that the move towards green infrastructure and demand management is helping to minimize the use of natural capital in the construction of physical capital. It's also reducing the generation of pollutants such as greenhouse gases.
In the earlier models, the social component included all things human, but the more sophisticated community capital model recognizes the social, human, and cultural capitals that can be invested to ensure a sustainable future. As described by the International Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, human capital includes our traits that facilitate the development of personal, social, and cultural well-being. More specifically, it's the intellectual, emotional, vocational, and spiritual resources we bring to our communities. Social capital is often called the glue that holds communities together. Again, using an OECD definition, it's the human relationships, networks, and norms that facilitate collective action. Social capital is reflected in acceptable behaviors such as compassion, tolerance, and honesty, and in commonly shared rules of conduct.
Of all the types of capital, this is the one that has been the most overlooked until recently. Cultural capital is the product of shared experience through things such as values, customs, and history. It is what some people say adds meaning and spice to life. And finally, economic capital encompasses the ways we allocate resources and how we make decisions about our material lives at the personal, corporate, and community levels.
So now that you have a basic understanding of the different types of resources, let's revisit the community capital model and explain briefly why it's our preferred approach. First, it shows the limit of growth is set by nature's capacity to support it. It also shows that the other types of capital should receive equal consideration and be integrated with each other.
What's different about this approach is the primary role of authentic community engagement. The key word being authentic. If residents are well informed about and included in community decision-making processes, the outcomes will not only be more creative, but also more strongly supported in the short and long terms. In addition to the 6 types of capital, there are also 6 core concepts or ways of thinking that support our preferred model. First, we should adopt futures thinking, meaning that people of all ages and generations should be considered and wherever possible consulted in the development of plans, policies, programs, and projects that affect them. Ecosystems thinking means that we live in a closed system with unique and non-substitutable ecological resources and services. Nothing in nature lives in a vacuum. Everything is connected. So when we destroy one system or species, we greatly endanger all others, including ourselves.
Integrated thinking ensures that all people's needs and rights are considered and protected, regardless of age, gender, lifestyle, race, or ability. Interdisciplinary thinking sets the stage for people from all sectors to work together to identify community needs, to set priorities, and then to undertake necessary actions.
Innovative thinking embraces new philosophies, scientific discoveries, and technological advances. It also welcomes creative planning and management strategies and processes, all of which accelerate our move towards community sustainability. And last, but certainly not least, is individualistic thinking, where all residents recognize, protect, and promote their community's unique and special attributes, its geography and ecology, its social and cultural mixes, and its economic drivers.
And while you're busy thinking, Dr. Bill Reese, one of my sustainability heroes, implores you to see that all forms of capital connected to humans exist within the mother of all natural capital, the ecosphere.
So now that you have a better understanding of community sustainability, let's move to question 2. Whose business is it? The Fresh Outlook Foundation thinks it's everyone's business. Joe, why is that?
Our foundational premise is that every one of us plays an important part. In fact, so important that our behaviors at home, work, and play constitute the greatest potential for positive or negative change.
So, in theory, this sounds great, but how can we break it down into understandable and manageable chunks?
Well, first, it's important to note that there are 5 main contributing groups: the public, private, nonprofit, and academic sectors, and the general public. Let's look at each of these in turn. For the purposes of this presentation, the public sector includes all levels of government, including school districts and health authorities. The desired outcome for this sector is a healthy and resilient community. To that end, public sector organizations facilitate discussion with other sectors and the general public to create a vision which is then reflected in community plans, policies, programs, and projects, and supported by legislation and funding. Outcomes are then monitored over time to measure the suitability and strength of the vision, and then the cycle starts all over again as visions are revisited and plans are revised. The public sector is well positioned to enable and encourage sustainability because it has the support of senior governments. It has legal authority supported by taxation revenue and allocated budgets, and it has the ear of the public. As well, it should have credibility with residents and people from the other sectors.
The private sector includes all for-profit initiatives, including the ones shown here in blue. The desired outcome for businesses is a healthy triple bottom line, meaning that it is socially, environmentally, and economically sound. Typically, businesses are primed by innovation caused by competition, which leads to continually improving technologies and evolving strategies for success. This can help drive sustainability quickly and creatively. If business uses its connection to the buying public wisely, it can help improve purchasing habits and build other sustainable social norms. Benefits include budgets devoted to research and development and to marketing.
The nonprofit sector includes non-government organizations, churches, and all other community and special interest groups. For the most part, the desired outcomes are informed and engaged citizens who challenge the status quo. This sector's contributions are often undervalued. It builds public awareness, which often leads to advocacy, which then leads to changes in policy and practice that result in more sustainable social norms. This sector's strengths are often underestimated and include focused attention on specific community issues. People in this sector are often very passionate and have a strong work ethic, which ideally result in increased public awareness and participation and collaboration with other sectors.
The academic sector includes all educational bodies outside of the K-12 system. The desired outcome is heightened student and community awareness and continual innovation that ultimately lead to community optimization. Its two main focuses are education and research. This sector's advantages include research funding that supports study across multiple disciplines, which contributes to our body of warranted knowledge. This fosters credibility and, therefore, ongoing government and community support.
The public includes everyone who doesn't fit within any of the other sectors. As shown here, citizens connect with other sectors during the course of their personal and professional lives. The general public funds sustainability-related actions through taxation and donations and can also support these actions through volunteerism. When people take personal responsibility for their actions, a community can experience widespread behavior change. Potential advantages are reflected in the sheer numbers of people and their interests and in the abundance of collective creativity and wisdom. As we've shown, it's necessary that government, business, and the nonprofit and academic sectors, along with the general public, work systematically in their specific focus areas. But I contend that it's equally important for them to all work together to accelerate the move toward community well-being. As noted in my favorite Japanese proverb, none of us is as smart as all of us.
As we shared earlier, each sector attracts people with unique talents, expertise, and passions. If you combine these traits by having people work together, the potential for creative yet practical and affordable solutions grows exponentially. Every time a sustainable solution is found, it increases your community's capacity for generating even better solutions in the future. In essence, you're growing the ability part of your sustainability movement. While each sector has unique challenges and therefore different solutions, they can learn new ways of thinking and responding from each other. This is a big benefit, preventing duplication of human and financial resources. This is especially important for local governments whose challenges grow while their budgets don't. Other benefits of cross-sector collaboration include more and better relationships and expanded networks. All of these combined will accelerate our move towards sustainability, which is critical given that many of our ecological challenges are serious and require immediate action.
For its part, the Fresh Outlook Foundation builds cross-sector communication and collaboration into all its events.
Now, the last of the three questions. What's in it for me?
We believe there are three very important reasons why you should care. Your family, your community, and your legacy.
So, Jo, tell me about the family and community aspects of this.
It's a given that you want what's best for your children and your grandchildren. So whatever your focus, government, business, nonprofit, or academia, you'll protect the natural and human ecosystems that are vital to your community. Remember, what's good for the planet is good for its people. You'll manage your natural resources wisely to ensure they meet your citizens' physical, emotional, recreational, and spiritual needs over the long term. You'll enable and encourage social networks and services that meet everyone's needs for protection, inclusion, integration, and engagement. You'll respect and support varied interests and cultures, regardless of people's age, gender, lifestyle, or race. You'll support a variety of land uses and green infrastructure to enable diverse personal and professional needs and choices. And finally, you'll accomplish all this while prospering ecologically and economically. It's being done in communities like yours around the world, and you can do it too.
So, in a nutshell, you've learned that a sustainable community enjoys social, cultural, environmental, and economic well-being, with each of these aspects being balanced and integrated. You have also learned about the key players from various sectors and their roles in building sustainable communities. And finally, We hope you now have a better sense of the benefits associated with personal, professional, and community involvement in the sustainability movement.
Thanks, Andrew. And in closing, I'd like to ask just one more question. What is your gift to future generations? Thank you for joining us. If you enjoyed this presentation, please share it with your family, friends, and colleagues. If you'd like to support the Fresh Outlook Foundation's work, please visit our website and click on the Donate button.
Yes, and thank you again for your help in building sustainable communities, and we look forward to sharing more information about sustainability soon. Stay tuned.